So then, we are back with more understandings from the Renewed Covenant, from the Aramaic English translation of the Word. These documents were translated from the time of Moses and also from the time of Abraham. Then we understand lots of areas where then the recorded history has also given us much of the understanding required for us then to be on time regarding the prophecies. There is a point, however, very important, reminding ourselves that we Gentiles, we are not responsible for the forming of the second services of the Holy Tabernacles. And the Gentiles are not going to be held responsible for any activity in it. Yahweh, the true Creator, the true Elohim, has given His people the selected, the set apart from the time of Moses, and they are responsible of maintaining the second services of the Holy Tabernacles. It must be very clear in what they are doing, because we Gentiles, we are becoming aware of the great Yahweh, the true Creator, and we begin to understand then His holy plan. We are not going to hold ourselves responsible for the selected lack on their part of being responsible. We Gentiles, we do not have a broken covenant with Yahweh. But the selected, the set apart, they have a broken covenant. So let's be very clear. When the Messiah said, go around the world, form holy tabernacles, and then help the Gentiles, He meant what He said, and He said what He meant. His people only receive comfort when they are obedient to what the Messiah told them to do. Don't think they can hold value to the prophecies of the Holy Yahweh when they are disobedient. And the Gentiles must make sure then they never receive comfort outside of the holy plan of Yahweh. The prophets of old always they point the people back to the instructions, then they received extras, and then when they were obedient, then would said, comfort my people, because they must be obedient and loyal. There is absolutely not a scrap of a special factor regarding the elected or the Hebraic people when they are disobedient. Because the true Holy Yahweh, He reveals Himself even to those who are never born in Him, yet because He is great and He is the true Creator of the heavens and the earth, He reveals Himself even to the Gentiles regarding His holy plans. Absolutely amazing what He said in the 65th chapter of Yeshayahu, speaking of the Gentiles, even those who are not even part of His plan, He would reveal Himself if those would be obedient. And He said the truth. Yahweh reveals Himself even to those who are not born in Him. However, His plans never change. And the elect, they can absolutely be sure of it. When they are not obedient to what the Messiah told them to do, they are not going to be comforted. Because the comfort comes as a result of their obedience. Don't think only because they understand part of the prophecies, then they can be secure in their own disobedience. Oh no, because the knowledge acquired from the holy prophecies, then rather than being friends of theirs, becomes their enemy. Because the truth of Yahweh always is related with loyalty and obedience. Don't think they can discover the prophecies and then doing their own sin over there and then try to get the benefit from. Absolutely not. Because the more truths are discovered, the more leads them to obedience of what the Messiah told them to do. And it's not complicated. However, they are stuck and mixed up with the first service rather than the second service. They should be exercising the second service with the first anointing brought by the Messiah. The temple is not relevant. What is relevant is what the Messiah then, Yahweh, told them to do. What they don't understand is Yahweh was the Messiah and He walked on the earth. What they don't understand, every time the Torah was spoken from the mouth of the Messiah was Yahweh Himself, explaining the prophecies. That's why then Yahweh decided in the future He would even use the Gentiles. And His prophecies are absolutely sure. It is absolutely rock solid. Never changes because His character never changes. Always related with loyalty and obedience. The Messiah, Yahweh Himself, He came in the form of a person and He gave orders. Go therefore and then establish holy tabernacles and practice the second service. The understanding of the prophecy from Yirmiyahu was already revealed centuries ago. However, obedience of what the Messiah told them to do is much more important even the prophecy themselves. And we Gentiles should never be intimidated in any form, fashion, if then the Hebraic people are not obedient. Yahweh gave the oracles to them as long as they were loyal. They would bear the name Yahweh, and that's why they don't say His holy name, because they are in disobedience. Adonai does not exist. It was a made-up name. They make up their own name. It's a hybrid name. His name is Yahweh. And they don't speak because they are in disobedience. So how can they speak of themselves as being precious? They don't have even the courage of saying the name of their own Creator. So it's very important understanding the prophecies for what they are, and then the Messiah Himself, being Yahweh the Creator, told them, go around the world and form holy tabernacles. Remaining in synagogues and being excited because they found a piece of the prophecy does not bring any close relationship with the Creator. They must do what the Messiah told them to do. Because not only Yahweh is observing what they are doing, but every time they receive a piece of understanding, they try to rebuild the temple. And the temple is not the situation. They should be exercising first the cities. Try to understand. First comes the cities, then the city. It's an order of what the Messiah spoke. The Messiah said, go around the world, form holy tabernacles. Whatsoever was behind would be destroyed in terms of the temple. What the Messiah wanted was the representatives of the tabernacle in the desert. Because he knew his people, they were going to cling to this temple and the first service, and the Messiah said no. That part is complete. The spring feast is completed. Now comes the autumn feast is next. And then they would set up holy tabernacles around the world, and then they would help the Gentiles with their problems and prepare them for the autumn feast. Synagogues are not relevant. What is the most important is establishing the tabernacle from the time of Moses, and the first perfect representative of the tabernacle of Moses was the camp of Yohanan, when he received the revelation. It was the first holy camp, perfect as per the design of Moses regarding the second service. They were exercising the second service. They were exercising the first anointing for the second service. And what Yohanan then experienced during his time, this time is what we then are prior of. It's not time for temple, it's not time for synagogue, it's time to be obedient of what the Messiah said to do. The 61st chapter of Yeshayahu states then the cities. The order of understanding is first the city would have to be in place, but it was not. The Messiah then was not concerned anymore with the city. He was concerned with the cities yet to be formed. And the cities are going to come first, and then the city for last. So when Yeshayahu was speaking of the city and afterwards the cities, he was speaking of the holy plan of Yahweh. But then his people decided to reject. Then became the cities, then the city. Because what Yahweh speaks last, this is what should be obeyed. So don't think they're going to do a reversal of the situation only because then was the first service in the tabernacle. They are not even obedient to the first service. Because it's not the time to be obedient of this first service. They must be obedient to the second service. And comfort is always related with loyalty and obedience. And what the Messiah told them to do, it's not complicated. They knew already the desert service. A lot of the ceremonies that they are so known would be related with the worship rather than sacrifices of animals. Receiving direct understandings from heaven and helping the Gentiles with their problems. So please stay tuned, much more coming up, because these must be then explored to the very maximum, because we must understand what's coming in the future. We understand plainly that churches are a fraud. We understand because unfortunately a couple of countries decided then to twist for their own gain. So then we also understand synagogues are also a fraud. Though they read the oracles, they are not in pace with the Creator. So after the first service was completed, became a fraud the previous understanding, because they are working with an obsolete system because it was already completed. Try to understand. The obsolete word is related with the practices completed. In order to move on with the second service, the first must be in place. However, they are not to be practicing the first service because it's already completed. Based upon this completion, then you understand whatsoever is then, in a ritual sense, trying to then to do what the first service then related is then no longer active. But it must be then required then for the second service. It's a continuation, not a replacement with anything new. It's not replacement, but it's simply completion and starting a new layer, a new understanding, a new service. The Hebraic people were clinging to what was then past. The Messiah has nothing to do with it. The Messiah wants the second service and the practice thereof. So then they have the first service in place and the second. So they understand as a completion of the spring feast. They understand the transitional time and the second service. And so far they are wallowing around in the first service, and the Messiah has nothing to do with it, neither Yahweh. Because Yahweh does not want any temple at the moment. He wants His second holy services to be practiced. Please stay tuned.